Yogananda. This lecture's title is Cheerfulness, the Best Antidote, and was delivered in San Diego, California on February 22nd, 1954.
Subject this morning, cheerfulness, the best antidote. So let's be cheerful. Got to get in the right mood, you know. I should be able to tell you a good, enjoyable story, but I've forgotten my good one. But this morning someone called me very early, and they laughingly said, well, and I happened to be up, and they said, oh, I'm sorry to bother you, Doctor, I hope I haven't waked you up. I said, no, sir, I'm perfectly wide awake, I feel good, everything is fine. So I started off that way. I happened to think of this morning's lecture, and I certainly had to live it. You know, there's one gentleman who said there's nothing so bad that couldn't be worse. So when you get down, think of that. And then I think I have told you the story about the optimist who fell 10 stories, and at each window bar shouted, all right so far. And then I think if we remember that, we will be cheerful in spite of all the distractions and trouble. You can be cheerful under all conditions, without doubt. First, you can be cheerful through your will and determination. Though you may be racked with pain and distraction, still we have the power, through will and determination, to be cheerful. But it's much better to be cheerful for the other and real reason, that the soul is naturally smiling. And so we must be cheerful by knowing and exercising the wisdom of the soul. That's the real reason. We can do it. The optimist does it by will and determination sometimes. But if we have the realization of the soul within, then the smile of the soul is naturally there. That's the greatest antidote for all ills, is the smile of the soul. If we follow outward consciousness, if we think that we can be cheerful by following the dictates of sensation, we are mistaken. We cannot be cheerful that way. We cannot take the testimony of this worldly life as a criterion for cheerfulness. It is not so. You look about us, we see the paradoxes in life. For instance, we see, take little children. Someone has said, I can stand anything, but when I see little children suffer. We see that. We see some little tots who have no chance in life with diseased bodies and all sorts of conditions. How can we be cheerful under those conditions? We cannot. It is very difficult. And look at the inequalities in life. Look in China and in India even. In India, which is the repository of spiritual knowledge, spiritual wealth. Spiritual wealth has been handed down through ages in India, and yet, just look at the conditions there. A gentleman returned from India. He was telling me that even now he has seen where they crawl through the garbage pails to get enough to eat. It is difficult to be cheerful if we take the testimony of the senses. And then look at the accidents that happen. We read in the paper, you find cars coming together and people thrown about over the street, airplane accidents, lives snuffed right out. When I was back in the Middle East in the fall, we were coming across one of the bridges there. I think it was the Greenville Bridge. And just a short time before, one of those jet planes had swooped down and hit the bridge. Smashed into the bridge, there was nothing left of the plane, and they couldn't even find parts hardly of the pilot. These things, the testimony of the senses cannot be taken as a criterion for being cheerful. Also uncertainties of life. One friend of mine in Boston, between Himself, the wife and his son, they had $21 million. Imagine, $21 million. He lost the whole business, and when I was with him, they had $50 a week between the three of them. Yet he was smiling. He was a member of self-realization. He was smiling in spite of that. And I felt, well, at least he has some will and determination. But he also had realization. It's wonderful to see that. And then when you consider war, the vicissitudes of war, the prison camps, the refugees, it's pretty difficult to be cheerful. But of course we have to have something else. And so we can go on now to more positive things. We must go further. We must go further than the optimist goes, because his optimism, as I have said, usually comes from will and determination. But we must be naturally cheerful. We must have the interior cheerfulness, interior happiness, naturally, which comes from the soul. The soul is naturally happy. The soul is naturally cheerful. We must have that. Now, we must be permanently cheerful and happy. That's the important thing. You can be cheerful through will and determination at certain times. But to be permanently happy and cheerful means that you must remove the cause of suffering, the cause of pain, which includes all sorts of suffering, permanently from your conscience. As Patanjali says, the great exponent of yoga, remove the cause of suffering permanently. Take it out by the root. Then, if you do that, in other words, if you have that positive aspect of true and permanent happiness which comes through soul realization,